Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, everyone. We're back after some break. We had to do some summer vacation along the way, but we kept our reading stuffs going on. So this time we're going to cover 2 weeks worth of book. But these were quite short books because last time political ideologies took a bit longer for us to finish, and the two books are the subsequent books that we decided but didn't announce it over YouTube. So it's going to be a surprise for some of you. And then we're also going to come up with a third book, which is supposed to be for the most recent week. But because I am still yet to finish some parts of it, we will do it again in coming days, and we just want to take time to finish the last two in case we forget them. Anup is back with me. Anup, how are you feeling after some time? Did you miss doing this thing?
Of course, I missed it, man. I'm feeling good. The weather is really hot, and it's gonna get hotter. It seems like this Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
And everything besides that is going well. How about you?
yeah, it's quite good for me as well. Weather is quite hot, and you're actually looking much hotter than the weather. I feel quite hot myself as well, with all the yeah temperatures going on. I was recently in vacation to Portugal and I got tanned, so
Mhm.
I'm quite hot myself as well. But most importantly, I got time to read the books, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was quite nice. Let's go on the sequentially. The book for the first week of this bonanza was "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream" by Harlan Ellison, and the one
Mhm.
after that is Jeffety is Five by the same author. And yeah, how do you like? I have. Let's start with "I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream" first.
It was really nice. First of all, the title was super interesting, right? So
Hmm.
I was thinking all the time, okay, when does this part come, or what
Hmm.
does it have to do with the title, right? And the story itself was, I think, dystopian, right?
Hmm.
Like where most of the human civilization are not there anymore. There are only five or six
Hmm.
kept by super intelligent robots just to torture them all the time, right?
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it was quite interesting. How did you find it?
For me, I liked it. I mean, the book, the short story was very nice. I was quite fascinated by how it came by, right?
Mm,
Science fiction is something that I like. But it's the world building kind. This is the world building kind of science fiction, a dystopian future where there has been drastic changes in the way the life works. And even though it's interesting, yeah, these are not my favorite kind of stories because you have to imagine something that is beyond that you see in everyday life. And
mm,
in some way, it's a bit of a work because I always feel like I'm imagining something that is not intended by the author to be how it is, right? So the author wants to imagine a mountain. In this case, he wants us to imagine a mountain and people walking through the wind and so on. And I always think maybe I'm imagining a mountain like a forested mountain, green with wind on it, but probably the writer means something else. So because there are a lot of
mm,
details that are involved around this kind of world building, I always am kind of skeptical. And yeah, otherwise the plot and other stuffs in the story was quite nice. Uh, Maybe we can do our usual Anup summary. Maybe do a quick summary for this one.
mm. I mean, I already did it like before, right? I didn't want it to spoil the ending, so basically, like, there are like five, six people hanging around, right?
Yeah.
One girl and four or five men, I think,
Mm,
and they were actually they had like sort of different personalities, but one fact was they were being kept by a super intelligent robot, I
yeah.
think. And he would occasionally come and torture them, I think, and then he
Mm,
would leave again,
yeah.
right? And yeah, and in the end, what happens is like they go to a mountain for I don't know, for a quest or something
Mm,
like that,
mm,
I
mm,
think, um, where there is one opportunity where the robot cannot surveil this
mm,
group of people,
mm,
and where our main character starts basically killing all the other
mm.
people because he doesn't want those people to suffer anymore, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think before he kills himself, the robot kind of comes and stops him, and then he is put in such a state that he cannot scream. He just has to endure life now,
Yeah, yeah,
in sort of a prison, I guess.
yeah.
Um, so that was the story. Yeah, it was quite dark, I would say.
It was indeed very dark. I agree as well.
Mm,
For me, the most fascinating part is there was one thing I didn't quite get until the end was were the
mm,
people inside a simulated world of the AI, or was the whole world taken over by an AI like the Benton alien upgrade, which just takes over
mm, mm.
equipments and then makes it more advanced? And I think only in the end it explains that the people were inside the AI itself because
Oh,
once the AI became sentient, then he took
mm,
over the world. Uh, so at least that was my understanding, and
mm,
I found it very fascinating how, upon taking over the world and how making our five characters the prisoner, the AI
mm,
just changed everybody's personality to two completely different people, and
mm,
he just kept them around for hundreds of years, uh,
mm,
playing around, toying with them, and yeah, it's quite fascinating. Uh, But one thing I don't know if that would happen. For example, if an AI becomes sentient, then why would it want to become evil necessarily, right? Maybe
no,
there's
no.
right.
Mm,
If
mm,
we look at AIs that are currently right now, then they probably
mm,
always want to be more optimized, more
mm, mm,
relevant, right? So once it becomes sentient, then there's no if it still keeps its characteristics of optimization and the back
mm.
end of the stuffs, then probably torturing people would not be something that it thinks about, right?
Mm, mm, mm. To be honest, like I actually didn't read the part where it was a simulation, So I basically thought it was the normal world like we live in, right? Where all the people are dead, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Besides these five people, and I just thought that I don't know, like this robot has lot of parts of it in throughout this world,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I thought, and
But how
you, you know
but
you
how
know the
do
movie The Matrix, right?
yeah
Like
yeah
I actually thought in my imagination it was more of that,
no,
So
okay.
this robot are there all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is like one consciousness. I mean, I don't know if you can call it a consciousness in that sense, but um, and they were kind of like surveilling these people, And during the end, I thought our main protagonist, right,
Mm-hmm.
like he finds a blind spot where the robot were not able to surveil,
Mm-hmm.
and in this moment he decides to kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I thought actually.
So it's not explicitly said. It was just my interpretation that they were inside
Ah,
some kind
okay,
of
okay, okay.
simulation. My understanding throughout the book was also the same, and only in the
Mm,
end when he finds this blind spot where they have to go hunting to find birds and animals, that's when
mm,
he can kill each other. For me, it more
mm,
than a blind spot, it was something like an opportunity because the AI
mm,
had constructed the world in such a way that they could not do self harm to themselves. Even if they will
mm, mm,
harm each other, they will not be in a mortal situation. So they always had to struggle to find an opportunity to find death. And I think the five
mm,
characters, the characters the protagonist killed, also wanted to die. They didn't want to suffer the
yeah.
pain anymore.
Uh,
And
There
but
was like this occasions, right? Like where they would kind of wound each other, but the AI would come, but this being would come and then like heal them, right? Like
yeah,
until they are recovered, right?
exactly.
Just to have them around to torture them more and more. Yeah.
Yeah. But how do you explain the change, the modification in the body of the characters that the AI did if it was not some kind of simulation? So the book kind of says the AI to be a semi demigod kind of situation where he has powers
Mhm,
of
mhm,
God to create changes.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I
But
think maybe it just so in the end, I actually thought, and I
mm,
mean, like my thoughts are maybe way more sinister.
mm,
I just thought that the main character was mutilated in such a state, that he can't move and he can't do anything.
mm,
So basically, all the ability like of walking, grabbing something, and stuff were taken
mm,
the from that character.
mm,
So he can just feel
yeah,
things. That's what I thought.
No, I mean for the other characters. So it says that one character had like his privates as big as an animal. There's other
Mm,
character whose face was completely jagged, was like a wild animal and stuff like that. And there was this modifications that the I think his name is AM, right, can do to our characters almost in a godlike manner. And based on that information, I'm trying to relate it to a physical world that we live in, and it looked unlikely, at least from my point of view, without having something like a simulation like scenario. uh we're having some network issues right now, but yeah, the book itself was quite fascinating. I mean, I absolutely loved it, and by the way, how Anup said to me during the last weeks and how he's saying right now, I can say it's quite good. I think everybody should read it. It's a very short book, not very long, and we can just finish it in a reasonable time frame. Okay, so now we're going to speak about the second book that we read. It's the Jeffeties 5 by the same writer, Anup. So, your verdict about this book?
mm. Um, Yeah, I recommended this book because I was searching for the first one in Amazon shop, right? And then I saw a bunch of collections of Harlan Ellison.
Mm,
So, and then because the first one was so nice,
mm,
I just picked out this book because it seems this book also won a lot of awards, right?
mm.
So I thought that's gonna be a nice read, and it was definitely a nice read. I really liked it. How did you like it?
Yep, I absolutely loved it. If you remember, I said that the previous book was not so much my kind of science fiction. Like I liked the book in itself, right? The
Mm,
techniques, the writing style was very engaging, and the plot that
mm,
happened. But I don't find them relatable because I'm always questioning if what the world I'm imagining is the one that was intended by the writer himself. But
mm,
the book like Jefferies 5 is what I really enjoy, where he takes our daily day-to-day life scenario and then just change one element of it into a science fiction scenario, and then it turns out into a very beautiful, relatable story. Maybe you should give us our typical Anup summary.
sure, sure. So basically, it's about a person, and he is in a city, right? And he has a friend whose name is Jeffty, and it seems somehow Jeffty is five forever, right? Like
Mm,
our main character, he kind of grows up, like he is 22, I think,
mm,
and Jeffty he's still five, right? And but one day our character kind of realizes that. Not only is Jeffty five, but the surrounding of Jeffty, meaning everything he listens to or hears to in radio, it's also kind of stuck in the past, right? Like
mm,
where Jeffty used to be five. So the story basically starts with our main character complaining about how everything has changed for bad, right? Like
mm,
chocolates, the shows, and everything, and how he wants to go back to the past, like relive those moments, right?
mm,
And then one day, kind of Jeffy, I don't know what that was again. He kind of says that he wants something from a radio show, and then our main character says to Jeffy, that show doesn't exist anymore, so
mm,
you shouldn't have this, right?
mm,
And Jeffy is surprised and says like, no, it still runs in his radio. And
mm,
then our main character kind of finds out that Jeffy was right.
mm,
So um, in Jeffy's surrounding, somehow like things are still the way it used to be in the past, right? And
mm,
then our main character, he enjoys it with
mm,
Jeffy.
mm,
After a while, then like a tragedy happens, right? Like when one day Jeffy and our main character they kind of go are trying to go to cinema,
mm,
and Jeffy's kind of going. Jeffy goes in the cinema a bit before, and Jeffy gets beaten up by some people.
mm,
Then our main character brings Jeffy to his home, and yeah, the ending was a bit weird, I guess. So
mm,
we don't know what happens exactly. There are two scenarios I thought. First of all, one scenario is everything is in the mind of our main character, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first scenario, and the second scenario is Jeffty's mom kills Jeffty,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that was the two things I think what I took out of the story. What about you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. To be honest, the story is quite fine. I just want to make a small adjustment. Is that uh, the only time where he's stuck, Jeffy's stuck in 1950s is when he is
Mm,
inside his room, right? It's implied that inside Jeffy's room when he's listening to radio and our main character
mm,
goes to call on him, he listens to the
mm,
radio that has been playing for that is supposed a show that is supposed to be played in 1950s, but it's playing
mm.
almost as if like it's playing in the 1970s when the story is actually set in, right? And
Yeah.
so I have a feeling that maybe it is inside the author's head. At first, I thought maybe this was actually happening, and it's a certain representation of science fiction element of the story where that this character Jeffety, he is five only in his own surrounding, and he has this uh, how do I say uh, uh, a barrier of time where he can uh, put certain things to his will to hold on to its essence. For example, uh, I would like to imagine that the stuffs in his room are something he will interact with them every day. So he can
Mm,
preserve the time the stuffs are there. For example, uh, the radio, the TV sets in his room, he would keep touching them, he would keep interacting with them so it can be preserved in time. Whereas Jeffty is not completely isolated in his room, but he's also traveling outside with our main character. He's engaging in society, but because he doesn't have the regular interaction, everyday interaction, every second interaction, he's unable to maintain the same kind of time pause in all those elements of the story. So
mm,
that is like this headcanon that was in my head, right? It kind of
mm,
complicates the whole PowerPoint of the story,
mm, mm,
but I think it's more convenient if I think of it as how you interpret it, where it's all inside our writer's head, and it kind of adds up where the time when Jeffty kind of goes paranoid is when Jeffty goes with our narrator to his workplace and he's watching the TV and he becomes kind of epileptic in a sense, right?
mm, mm,
So
mm,
I think it is in parallel with our character who is busy working there and he's not
mm,
able to help Jeffty or at least accompany Jeffty to the cinema hall is because he's being stalled by one of the customers in the shop. So I
mm,
think it kind of shows that the responsibility of adulthood has taken over our main character's childlike innocence, right? His childlike enthusiasm for the world, for experiencing new stuffs and
mm,
experiencing outdoors and so on, has been paused, halted by the work, the responsibilities of an adulthood, which consequently leads to our to Jeffty dying at the age of 5, or at least
mm,
later
mm,
on in the
mm,
story. The story is
mm,
open-ended,
mm.
right? But I think it feeds my head canon to think that Jeffty dies later on, which is symbolic of adulthood killing the childlike innocence in our main character.
I thought that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like how the book kind of reminisces on its past, and I think it's something that everybody can relate to. I'm sure you reminisce your own childhood, your own past, right? I
Definitely.
I do it a lot,
Definitely.
right? And it's kind of a very interesting read that it's a very common emotion. It's not like
Mhm.
uh, anything else.
Like I've been saying that a lot actually. So you can relate with me because you are of we are of the same age, right?
Yeah,
So back in the days in Nepal, choco used to be this
yeah,
big, right?
yeah, yeah,
And later on, and it used to be tasty. Maybe we
yeah,
were a child, I don't know, but like it used to be a
yeah,
lot tastier than it is now, right?
yeah,
Like now it's small and now it costs more money,
yeah,
and like that's only one part. Another part is like back in the days I found cartoons were like really hardcore, like
yeah,
last time I was watching like in YouTube, the show called Powerpuff Girls,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then I just see they are like smacking these villains around,
Yeah,
things are falling off and all this
yeah,
stuff. This kind of stuff, I don't know. You don't see it in the modern
no, no,
children cartoons
no,
anymore, right?
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I like this much more, I think.
Did you ever watch Popeye the Sailor Man?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the guy used to smoke a pipe. He used to hit uh, another person and turn him into a table, turn him into a bowling ball, turn him into
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that, right? So
Mm,
completely very violent. Scooby-Doo was
mm,
about hippies traveling around. So yeah, I mean,
definitely.
uh, I think it's just human nature to reminisce on the past, and it really left me to think very deeply about this matter. After reading this book, is I try to think back, and I always feel like the uh, days gone by were much better. But then I try
Mm,
to think about what I used to speak about the days gone by, and I would always be complaining about one thing or the other. And
mm, mm,
I wonder what was so much better about the days gone by that I was
mm.
complaining every day about them, and still I miss them in some sense or the other.
Mm.
So
I think I think less responsibility, like so back in the days we had a lot less responsibility because we were children, right?
yeah,
But I mean, I think it's always like that the grass is greener on the other side,
exactly.
Back
Yeah,
in the days we wanted to be adults and we wanted to have more freedom, and
yeah.
now we want it reversed.
Exactly, yeah. So I feel that as well. But this book was a really good read. I would recommend everybody to read this book. I personally felt this book was, at least for my taste, better than the other one that we read. I want to scream, but I have no mouth, right?
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, which one did you like better among these two?
I think this went a bit longer, right?
Yeah,
And I also think I can relate to this much more. That another one, I don't know. We have been going through a lot of dystopian books, I
yeah,
think. So I've kind of had it enough, I think,
yeah.
regarding dystopian books.
Yeah. So yeah, this is about the book that we read the first 2 weeks that we skipped. We didn't really skip. We read them, but we did not do our episodes, so we just bundled them up all together. Both were by the writer. I forgot his name. Do you know his name? Can you say again?
Harlan Edison.
Yeah, Arlen Ellison, and both were short. I would say short stories, which are widely critically acclaimed and are also critically acclaimed from our side. We recommend that you read both of them. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.